Here's how to make an adorable pom-pom using one of these Clover pom-pom makers. So today we're going to use the turquoise palm. So I'll get these out of the way. This is the second to largest. So basically this has two sides that open. And so you're going to start by opening one side, and then you take your yarn and you hold it like that, and you just start winding it around. So the idea here is to try to make this even. It doesn't have to be perfect, but you want to try to wind this evenly around this arch, and as evenly as you can, at least to get started. And then you just keep going back and forth. And the more yarn that you use, the fluffier the pom-pom will be. And so you want to go back and forth as evenly as you can until you have filled up this entire semicircle with yarn. And you want to be careful not to let it slip over here. You just want to keep it tight there. And so this takes a little while. Again, doesn't have to be perfect, but you want to try to fill it up as evenly as you can. And you just keep going round and round until you get this side done. All right, so again, see how full this is getting? And so you want it to be this full. I mean, I like my palms really fluffy, and so I want, it uses more yarn, but I think it makes a better palm. So I like to do this really full until almost until like you can't fit any more yarn around it. See how it starts to want to come off? And so you got to make sure that doesn't happen. And really at this point I could stop at any point, and I'm going to just do a couple more. All right, so when you're happy with it, then you close this side. You might have to push it a little and snip that yarn. And then you turn it around to the other side and you open it up, and make sure you're opening both sides. You don't want just one. So that's important. So when you open up the other side, then you start doing the same thing. I just hold that there with my finger, and then I just start wrapping around. Oops. Then I just start wrapping around, again, trying to do it as evenly as I can. So this is not complicated. This is just a little time consuming, but well worth the effort. You can also hold two colors together, two different yarns together while you do this, and then you get a nice sort of flaky yarn, which is kind of cool looking. I've even done pom-pom art. I've seen people do hearts. I did an egg pom for a chicken hat that I made for my granddaughter, which was, but you can get creative with it. So here is just the beginnings. All right, so I'm finishing up here. Again, try to make sure you're not going across this. You want to just stay within this area. But once that starts getting sort of even, where, you know, it looks pretty full, and this is a personal preference. I like mine a little fuller. But once you start getting there, then you say, okay, I'm done. And then you just take it and you close that and you trim this. So this is going to be one of those wild hairs that sticks out of the palm that you're going to trim later. Same with these. So now this is closed tight. Everything is good. You've done both ends. So now you just choose one. So I'll start here. You get a little pair of scissors. It helps to have sharp scissors, because if they're not sharp, it's going to give you trouble. And then basically what you're doing is you're going to go into there and you're going to cut along that line. And that plastic, these plastic rims here are going to help keep your scissors even so that you don't end up with a wobbly thing. So I don't recommend you pull that up. Leave that down. But I just wanted to show you where you put the scissors. You get the scissors in there, and I'm holding this down. And the bottom part of the scissors follows along that ridge, and it just starts cutting apart beautifully. See? So I'm following that ridge. I'm cutting my yarn until I get to the other side. So you want to make sure that there's no little strands of yarn that you've missed. So we've cut all of that. So this side is done. And then you turn it over and you do the same thing on the other side. So getting that yarn in there, holding these down so it doesn't come up. And now we have both sides cut all the way through. So you don't want to open it at this point because there's nothing holding that yarn together. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to cut a length of string, and it doesn't, of yarn, it doesn't have to be that long. But the idea is here that we're going to put it around the centerpiece, and you're going to tie a knot. So, and then tighten it really good because this is what's going to hold your palm together. So you want to make sure that you are pulling, that you're tightening it really well. I like to go around again, another once or twice even, and then tighten it up by tying a nice knot. And then that was once. I'm going to do it twice to actually get a knot. And when you're comfortable with that, this is going to be your tail that you're going to use to sew this onto your hat or whatever it is you're going to use the pom for. And now at this point, you have this good and secured, you can start to take this off. So you can open this up. You start to see your palm, and then you go on the other side and you open that one up. Yay. And then this actually just pulls apart. You can put it back together, pulls, pulls apart. So easy breezy. So now we've gotten that off. Now you can hold it by your two pieces of yarn that you tied around, and you just kind of fluff it up and you go, okay, I need to trim it and get rid of those weird long pieces. And then this part, depending on how big of a perfectionist you are, this part you can spend forever, or you can just, do it quick. But this is where you try to even it up and make sure you don't have any weird long things hanging off. One of the advantages of using one of these pom pom makers is you get a consistent size, and so they're going to be pretty round, especially if you try to keep the amount of yarn the same on either side when you're making the palm. But anyway, so you trim this up, and then when you're happy with it, you can add it to a hat or whatever it is that you want to use your palm for.